We are in the middle of a 6-part series on French and Raven's power bases, the types of power. And in this video, we're going to look at referent power. Hey there, welcome back. Lyon here, communication coach. This channel is here for the professional development of emerging leaders. And we're doing a 6-part series on French and Raven's power bases, the types of power. They wrote about these decades ago. And power, more generally defined as they see it, is social influence. The ability of person A, or the leader, to have some influence over person B, to change person B's behavior, attitude, or belief. And there are lots of ways to do that. Like in the last video, we looked at legitimate power, and in this one we're going to look at referent power. So let's paraphrase French and Raven's definition of this. Referent power has its basis in identification, a feeling of oneness a follower has for a leader. They feel a sense of identification or have a desire for that oneness. So if I were to boil this down even further, I would say that the leader is a model that the follower wants to emulate. They like the leader, they want to be like the leader. And so that's the source of power. Just like we might look up to an older brother, like I really look up to my older brother, and I was willing to go along with just about anything that he said or did because I wanted to be like him when I got older. Referent power functions a little bit like that. So if we were to verbalize this, this is the way French and Raven would verbalize it. I really admire my supervisor and wish to be like him or her. That's the way you might hear it spelled out if you were to think out loud. Now, we don't often say it like that in our head, but that's how we act it out. So I want to unpack this a little bit further and get into some of the details on here. And one of the first things you'll notice is that they say supervisor, and I mentioned my brother. You don't have to have any kind of legitimate connection to the person that has referent power over you. They don't have to be your actual boss. Like in the last video, we talked about legitimate power. That person is in a position where they have power over you and you accept that power. Here, it's not like that at all. Referent power is they may not have a position at all, but because you look up to them and you want to follow them, there's a kind of referent power that's functioning there. So it's where you have this close association, or you want to have a close association with the leader or some group. And so you're willing to go along with their influence, a special kind of influence. And I want to get into some details here even further. One of them is that the stronger the identification, or the stronger the desire, the more powerful the influence. So if I want to be a little bit like somebody, then they might have a little bit of influence over me. Like I admire and look up to the former bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger, championship bodybuilder, and I look up to him a little bit. I don't look up to every aspect of his life, but I have some degree of identification with him. But there may be people in my life that I really identify with, and they have that strong connection that I feel with them, and they might have a lot more influence over me in that way. So it depends upon the depth of that referent power, then that's going to shape how much power we have there. It's also intrinsic, which is also implied in what I've been saying. So the desire for me to be like that person, to emulate that person, comes from within. I get a special satisfaction, as French and Raven put it, some special satisfaction by following along with the person who has that referent power. That's internal to me. That's quite different from reward power or coercive power, some of the other types of power. That's external. That the reward or the punishment comes from somewhere else to me, but referent power comes from a desire within me to be like that person. So I might buy shoes, for example, that a famous athlete wears, because by wearing the same shoes, I feel that special satisfaction. That's an internal feeling that I have. So that's really where this comes from. So the leader, another part of this, the leader may not be aware of this referent power. So if they're your supervisor, they might have a few different types of power functioning on this list. but they don't have to be your supervisor. And in fact, they may not even know that they have an influence over you. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger does not know that I take his fitness advice, his exercise advice. He doesn't even know that. And there may be other people that you look up to personally that really don't know anything about that. In fact, I really look up to my former boss, and he has influenced me for years because I thought he was like an ideal supervisor and I want to be like him. And so he has referent power over me, and he didn't know this until recently I told him. I said, I really look up to you like a role model for me. And then he finally knew, but he didn't know that up until then. So referent power can function in that way where the person doesn't have to be aware of it to know it. So I want to tell you about 3 teachers that I had, not by name, but I went to Rhode Island College, and I had these 3 professors that I really look up to, that if you put them together, I really wanted to be some combination of all 3 of them. They were good in the classroom, they were good with people, they were intelligent, they seemed to be happy people, well-adjusted. And as I went to my different classes, I said, I want to be like them when I grow up, so to speak. They had a lot of referent power over me. I cared about grades, but that was secondary. I wanted to emulate them and be like them. So I was willing to do almost whatever they asked me to do academically because I looked up to them in that way. They had a strong referent power. I was willing to go much further because I liked them and looked up to them. And so that's really the way that referent power functions. So unlike some of the other types of power, I really think that referent power is special in that as emerging leaders, we have almost a limitless capacity to expand our referent power by being role models. We want to become the kind of people that others look up to, and that will expand our influence in lots of positive ways. So before we go, I want to tell you about 2 things. First of all, the next video in this series is on expert power, which is a fascinating one to me, and I want you to stick around for that. I encourage you to look at that one. And the second thing I'll leave you with is a free resource. If you're interested, I have created a free PDF download, a quick guide to essential professional communication skills. So there's a link in the description below this video, and also it's pinned to the first comment in the comment section. And you go to that link, and it lets you put in your email, and then I email you this downloadable quick guide. And it's a great handy reference about the 5 essential skills that I believe every professional should have. So I invite you to check that out. So thanks, God bless, and I will see you in the next video on expert power.